Okay, this is a brand new 2018 Honda Goldwing, and this is the tour model. And I'm just going to do a little comparison here real quick between this model and the previous models, which is everything from 2001 to 2017 are basically the same. So we'll kind of take a little look at what they changed. This new 18 is a completely different bike. It's not a revamp of the older bikes. It's from ground up, built from scratch. It's actually kind of based on the ST1300 design, and it's in my view it's actually a ST1300 with a 1800cc motor in it for the most part. I think the reasoning behind the styling changes and the changes they made on this bike was to try to appeal to a younger group of riders. It's more of a sport tour bike. The previous models are definitely tour. There's some people who say they're sporty. They are, I guess, but they're basically a tour bike. They're designed for the long haul. They're designed for hours on the road. This new Goldwing is designed more for the people, that younger couple that maybe wants to just go out and chase around on the weekend, go on a short trip. And there's some reasoning why I say that, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. The first thing you'll notice is the footprint is quite a bit different. The new wing is slimmer, smaller windshield. Everything about it is smaller. It makes the old Goldwing look huge. I would say it's probably 20% smaller all the way around. The other thing you notice, it doesn't have any fork sliders. It has a double wishbone type front suspension, which is pretty neat. This is not my bike. It's a customer bike. I'm a custom manufacturer, remanufacturer. So I'm going to be doing some extensive alterations on this bike. And this is a customer bike. And I actually brought it here. This is my home and my heated garage. And I brought it here just for safekeeping because it'll be about a week before I get this in the shop. And so I backed it out of the trailer. So I've driven it backwards 12 feet. That's my ride experience. But I could tell the front suspension is really cushy. I've seen a lot of reviews on these, and they've all been super positive. And I have no doubt that this is going to be just an excellent machine. As far as overall look, it's probably the nicest Goldwing or motorcycle I've ever seen. The fit and finish is just immaculate. The paint is incredible. It's a candy apple red. It comes in three colors: red, blue, and white. And it's heavily pearl. It's a three-part paint. I actually already this morning ordered a quart of paint for this thing I'm doing on this bike, and it's the whole thing just looks so nice, and just sitting on it, it's really comfortable. The seat's great. It's got a factory cup holder here. This one is the deluxe model. It's got a heated seat, heated grips, every option you can imagine. It's got these little deflectors, and normally the aftermarket ones look very aftermarket. They look tacked on and kind of don't really improve the look of the bike. These blend in really well. They're really thick and solid. They're like almost a 1/4 inch thick, 3/16. And they do look pretty good, and they look like they do the job nicely. When I first saw these, I actually saw them on the auction site. I buy crashed bikes, and normally there's parts missing, and I was looking at this lower part of the motor here, and I thought, oh, the cover's missing. And this was on a bike that I was looking at. I didn't buy it, but I thought there's supposed to be a cover there. Well, there's not. It's a little bit of a different design where they leave more of the motor exposed, which I think looks pretty good. I think it's a good idea to do that. I really can't say there's any negatives to this as far as the way it looks. Sitting on it and just backing it up and everything, it was really, really comfortable. And I'm sure if I took it for a ride, it would be, a real plus. This is the DCT, or the 7-speed automatic, which is, in my view, the only way you can probably buy one of these. It's either that or the ridiculous 6-speed, which doesn't make sense with this high torque motor to have a 6-speed, but they went ahead with that. This one does have foot pegs, and I know I think those are factory. I think, I'm not real sure. I'll have to check to see if those are third party. I'm guessing they probably are third party. Maybe Kiriakin or one of those. But this one actually has the highway pegs on it. And this thing's pretty well decked out. This has all the options you could imagine. When you look at the old one, this is an 07. This is one of my bikes. And, you know, there's a substantial difference just in the footprint. The things that some of the guys don't like, and I'll have to agree that for, you know, riding around and touring around and everything. Let me get some of the stuff out of the trunk. You can see this has got a nice big trunk. You open up the side, and it's really quite large. And then there's room for a lot of stuff. If you got a heavy jacket like I do, you know, it takes up most of this trunk. Well, this thing is really pretty small. Substantial difference between this and that. And it's kind of, I was looking for the little latch. I thought, oh gosh, I'm going to have to Google how to open the trunk. There's a tiny little button here, and it's a little electric latch. And there's one here. You just push that, and the thing pops open. Saddlebag is, again, very small. And I know that's one of the complaints. People are saying, you know, the luggage carrying capabilities are not good. And I would agree there. But then again, I think, in my view, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to take, well, my bike is over here. This is my bike. I just put this one together for myself. This is my tour bike. And the 07 there's for sale, but that's the bike I would take on tour. This is the bike I would take for a little weekend jaunts, maybe a little commute, horsing around on my own. That would be my view of this bike. So my preference would be to ride, you know, the older ones versus this for long trips and that kind of thing. Or you pull a trailer. You can easily pull a trailer. It's certainly got the power and the stability to do that. But other than that, you know, I can't really see any negatives on it. I'm sure there's some quirky things that are going to come up. You know, you can't design everything to please everyone. You know, it's old Murphy's Law. When you try to please everybody, somebody's not going to like it. But I'd say they got a winner here. I think they went the right way. And, you know, the whole thing looks pretty good. And there's a lot of reviews. You know, this is just my opinion. I would get on YouTube and check out some of the videos on like Cruiseman's Garage and some of those. And they go in more detail on what they think of the bike and how it handles and more of the practical road experience and that kind of stuff. I'm just giving kind of my impression of what I think in general between the two. I guess another factor, I know I priced out this exact bike because this is, to me, the prettiest color bike I've ever seen. And I priced this out in my cost, and I'm not an electronic motorcycle guy. I'm more into, I just want a basic bike. I would never use the radio. In fact, on my own bike here, you notice there's no antenna. There's no speakers in that bike. I don't use the radio ever at all. I just like the wind. So, you know, for me, the electronics was more of a detriment. I wanted the DCT because that makes more sense. You know, it's 50 years behind as far as transmissions on motorcycles. And I really wanted the DCT. So I priced that, and then everything else, the bare essentials, and I came up with $29,000 something after tax and everything. So that pretty much turned me off right there. I ended up buying 3 Goldwings. The 7, I bought this 03, and I bought an 05. And I didn't pay, well, I paid about a third of that for all 3 of them together. So money-wise, you know, it's a big deal. If you got the money and it's not a big deal, I guess I'd buy one, you know, just for horsing around. If you're, you know, concerned about money, I would stick with the older one for now, I guess. Reliability, I mean, you're going to be looking, typical Goldwing is easily 400,000 miles before you have any major issues with them. I have no doubt this will be the same. I'm not real sure about the DCT. I kind of held off on the the salvage bike I was looking at, because I kind of want to see how that transmission is going to hold up. I know the automakers had major problems with DC2 transmissions, so hopefully Honda, you know, knowing Honda, they probably did a really good job, but we'll have to see. Time will tell. So anyway, that's kind of my overview on the whole thing, and I really would, you know, invite you to go to the dealer and check it out, and don't listen to the salesman. You know, use your own common sense, and I'm sure they'd let you take it for a test drive and you'd love it. But you know, consider some of these storage things. That's kind of a major deal with a tour bike, is you want storage. But then again, this bike fits into the you know, Kawasaki Contours, the STs, the BMWs. You know, a lot of them have, you know, the sport touring. The more sport you get, the less touring you're going to have. So this is kind of what I would say is a in between. It's a sport touring. They try to make it tour but sporty at the same time, so there's compromises all the way along. So that's my view, and I wish I could keep this bike, tell you the truth.